Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Coprolites podcast, where we take shit seriously. Tonight I have with me Marty and David. Fred's not here. He died because he talks like a girl. But tonight we're going to be focusing on a pretty broad topic, but we're gonna try breaking it down here tonight. So if you hear what sounds like a woman speaking tonight, that is actually Fred. So PaleoArt is a very broad topic, and anyone who's probably watching this is obviously familiar with PaleoArt or paleontography, whatever you want to call it. I know there's some people, and actually this might be something we want to talk about, is there's some people who make a distinction between PaleoArt and paleontography, and then there's that one guy who proposed the idea of PaleoArtismo, whatever that crap is.
I've never heard of that.
I remember that.
You two haven't heard of that?
No.
Oh, well.
PaleoArtismo?
I don't even remember what it was about, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't really either, but that's interesting. So maybe we'll focus on it maybe in a different podcast. I don't know, but it is pretty interesting, so we can definitely look into that. But anyway, so PaleoArt has existed for a very long time, pretty much going back to the dawn of paleontology itself in the 1800s, and probably even before that in various forms. But you know, there are a few I guess a few issues that we Coprolites have found with particularly modern PaleoArt. So those were some things we wanted to discuss tonight. So we have a little bit of a lineup here of issues that we have with PaleoArt, and the number one issue we have is profile views. Now, profile views, we're talking about like when someone, depicts a dinosaur or another prehistoric creature, I guess, PaleoArt, in a way that kind of... did we lose Fred? We lost Fred, guys.
Yeah, we lost Fred. Well, I mean, he was a girl. We didn't need him.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, he died.
I'm a misogynist.
But anyway.
I respect my women.
So we lost Fred, but that's okay. We'll keep
Marty.
going. Maybe he'll rejoin us soon. But
That sucks.
yeah, poor Fred.
Get some technology.
Yeah, so profile views are when someone depicts a dinosaur in like a flat, like side view angle. There's no real dynamic to it, especially when there's just like a white background. And it's not like there's anything wrong with that, but there's a copious amount of profile view drawings in PaleoArt, and I'll be the first one to say that I am a huge culprit of that myself, and I'm sure anyone who has drawn, dinosaurs is guilty of this, of profile view, of excessive profile views. But what do you guys have to say about that? Do you guys have any thoughts about profile views?
I feel like they have their place. It's all about context. If someone keeps repeatedly just copying, like, let's say Scott Hartman's skeletals, which are only supposed to be used as a reference, but people just use them and copy paste over them like a skin, and they do it all the time, and they act like it's like respectable PaleoArt. No, it's not.
Yeah, and I know obviously I used to do that quite a bit back when I was a teenager. Yeah, early teens, like 13, 14, I did that quite a bit, to where I would Google for like skeletals, like profile views, and it was easy to trace over because I'm really paranoid when it comes to drawing like actual animals, about getting like the anatomy right and everything. So for me, it was easiest to kind of cut the whole phase of having to figure out the proportions yourself. So it's almost like cheating when you do that.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, would you guys could that technically be considered plagiarism?
I feel like it's a very blurred. It's really
I
blurred.
wouldn't go as far as to say plagiarism part.
Yeah.
And also, it's really, now that you mention it, I'm kind of curious. would it be possible to actually plagiarize Scott Hartman? Because it's like when you think about it, it's like what he's doing is he's giving you a representation of the skeleton, and when it comes down to it, you're drawing that skeleton. I guess if you choose the exact same pose, it could be plagiarism, but it's just like, you know how like all anatomy textbooks say it's not the exact same skeleton image, but the fact is they're still drawing the same skeleton. So it's like, how are you, like, how much variation could you really have with that, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
it's just hard because side drawings generally give you the most information about an animal. So I can see why it's a very popular pose to do, but at the same time, it's mostly just plop side view on white background, nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, me personally, I do a lot of side views, mostly because I'm always trying to design features. So, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh.
In that instance, it's just context. Because if you're designing something, the best pose you're going to do is a side drawing.
Yeah.
Or whichever side benefits it the most. Because I don't do side views when I'm trying to do humans, because those are janky.
Hey,
oh, we got Fred back.
Nice.
What happened, man?
Internet connection cut off.
Get some technology.
So we're talking about side views, and so what do you think about side views, Fred? Do you think that they're a little too kind of overkill in PaleoArt?
Yeah, definitely, especially on certain art websites. It's just too much. I mean, I think there's
certain
some
art
sort of,
websites.
certain websites. But I mean, to be in all seriousness, I think some of it has function. Like I know, I prefer yours to be the most functional because I'm sure a lot of people try to do it as a form of. I missed out a bit. I'm not sure if you guys pointed that out, but a lot of it could be functional in a way that people are trying to get a very simple design or idea of what the animal may look like out in the open without having to do all the other work of foreshortening, poses, composition, and all that kind of stuff. I get that, but it's just so much that's pretty much all PaleoArt is now. It's
and
just
also,
side views.
at the same time, to go with that, Fred, it's kind of like after they do the side view and they have the established look of the dinosaur that they want, they don't do anything with it after that. It's more like, okay, now on to the next species.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait a minute, you could play with it now because you have it set up to look the way you want. So now you can start playing with perspectives and things like that. You can start practicing with your design.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the stuff I do.
That doesn't happen.
Now, and it really doesn't. And what happens is people bank, and unfortunately, I'm probably the worst offender of this because when I was like 13, like back in 2007, my art was terrible. I mean, you guys saw I showed you a picture earlier, but it was terrible. But some of the stuff I actually did try to like pose and angle my dinosaurs, but by the time 2008 came around, I had stopped doing that. I gave up on doing that for some reason. And I just never tried. And so now I'm at the point in my life where I'm trying to learn that now. I'm trying to like work towards that, and it's like having to figure out how to draw all over again.
Oh yeah. That's always the case when you're trying to learn a new certain set of skills when it comes to drawing a certain part of what makes a certain subject or whatever on how to make your art better. It's always practice makes perfect.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I am kind of kicking myself for it because I could be a much better artist than I am now if I had kept trying. I mean, being able to like angle and pose your drawings just makes such an impact.
Oh yeah.
Because like we said, profile views are useful for getting an idea, just a concept on paper. And of course, a lot of like professional concept art for like creatures in movies and stuff like that all use profile views because they kind of lay out the baseline for what that animal is going to look like. But you need to be able as an artist to do more than that. And too many paleo artists, including myself, have banked at profile views.
It all just comes down to
Unless they use something like skeletal mounts.
that's equally. I think that's worse.
Worse than like
Look,
missing.
I feel like it's a good template to start with, posing different
Yeah.
angles. But when you're
Yeah.
relying exclusively on skeletal mounts, there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
Right,
Well-
especially if you're tracing over them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so
It's a
so
good-
we're
I
talking
think it's a
about
good-
tracing over.
And you know, I did that when I was like 16, 17, 18. I used
Yeah.
to copy skeletal mounts,
I
but
thought
you know,
it's
I evolved from that.
It's a
I did my
good
own-
use of practice when it comes to foreshortening and all that kind of stuff. It's good practice, but as your
Yeah.
as your main piece of style or anything like that, it's not recommended. I don't think.
Like you should evolve from it.
Yeah, should help you
Yeah,
learn. Not
really,
that be it.
You really
know?
should. I mean, you should be able to graduate from that. And like I can totally justify people starting out, for example, tracing skeletals by Scott Hartman or something like that to get an idea for proportion. Because I see a lot of young amateur artists, not even paleo artists, just artists in general, who start drawing a creature, and what they do is they'll start with the head and they'll go down the body, and by the time they get it done, the legs are twice as big as they should be, the tail's going off the page. They don't have a good sense of proportion, and tracing skeletals is a good way to establish a sense of proportion that can translate not only into eventual professional paleo art, but into other forms of art too, where you could be a concept artist for, a production company or something, and you'd have a good sense of proportion to design realistic, good-looking creatures for your client. I mean, that should be the pursuit of an artist, is to deliver quality work, and banking on tracing things is a hindrance to that. It can work. Like, tracing can start out as a way to improve yourself, but it can also be a way to bank. It's like a double-edged sword almost.
it is.
It's very limited, and that's why I think people need to evolve from it.
Yeah, I guess it gets to a certain point to where it's like you got to get into the habit of doing some tracing, some referencing, and also drawing like freehand. Because me, definitely out of the four of us, I know for a fact I use references the least out of all of us. Like
This bitch.
and I'm very accustomed to drawing things from memory or like from imagination of or understanding of how it works.
Yeah.
But that's very necessary to being able to get accustomed to things, because if you could be able to do both, then you'll be pretty solid, because you'll have the familiarity enough to be able to draw something without a reference, but by having a reference, you'll ensure that you will always be accurate.
Yeah. You know what else kind of frustrates me too? And some people would like to call it like a style thing, but I don't know, like, it's a skill thing to me. When people don't use shapes to like form the body before they start detailing. Like, people, like, they look at me, like, I've like had little like drawing competitions, or just having like a drawing session with a friend or something like that, and we'll be drawing, and I'll be like circling out the torso and triangulating out the head, and lining out the tail and legs before I start putting in the fine details and everything like
Geometry.
that. And the geometry of the creature, and they look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're one of those people that does shapes. I just kind of start drawing it, And it's like, well, that's why yours is basically a big blob that's hanging off the page.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It's all shapes.
There are people
You
out there
gotta
who are good at
use-
just like winging it, but
Yeah.
majority of people who do that just can't do anything right.
Yeah,
Well, and just doing geometric shapes just helps you map out the animal.
Yeah.
It's just
it
If
does.
you're not good at mapping.
yeah.
It's really important. Like, geometry in drawing in general is very important.
Very.
Very.
I mean, you look at the sketch work of any professional paleo artist, and again, if it's sketch work, you're going to see they did all the circles and everything to get the proportions right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also helpful for angling, and that's another thing too. Like, it's one thing if you're learning how to do angles and poses with circles, but imagine trying to do that without any kind of geometry at all. Like, that's what geometry is for. It's for creating dynamic. And I think what a lot of modern amateur paleo artists lack is geometry, and I think that's kind of what's hindering them.
Yeah.
They rely on skeletal mounts and skeletal drawings for geometry, and they don't rely on themselves to proportion things out before they start actually detailing the drawing. And I think that's one of the overarching problems that we're dealing with. And of course, obviously, at some point, we were all culprits of that ourselves. And as artists, we are definitely pursuing more experience and better skill. But there's some people who just don't do that.
Nope.
They don't progress.
And they rely on it, and shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause me personally, it's like, I guess it's just a whole thing just for myself. But I would like to see more dynamic things in paleo art, like like animals from not only different angles and perspectives, but just like different varying degrees of activity. I have been seeing a lot lately. It's been sort of a trend for people to draw animals that are just like doing things like sleeping or like scratching their backs on trees, like just random miscellaneous animal stuff instead of the classic fighting and predation things that are always depicted. I've seen a lot of people have been departing away from those classic tropes and have been trying to do more things, which is great. But it would be nice if just more people did it, because then
I totally agree with that. And when you look at paintings from modern day animals and how dynamic they can be, why can't paleo art be like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there
really
are artists that do that, but it's not common at all.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of getting into our next topic here, so I'll go ahead and introduce it. Dynamic composition. Here's something that we Coprolites have kind of come to a consensus on, is that paleo art, the majority of it today, is not quite as dynamic or atmospheric as it used to be.
For sure.
More traditional, archaic paleo artists had a fantastic attention to atmosphere and dynamic in their scenes, and like I think it was David was just saying, it wasn't all just killing and things like that. It wasn't just hunting scenes. There was some dynamic. There was a real exploration of animal behavior. And it is something that only a few paleo artists really tackle today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because also when it comes to paleo art, not only are the animals involved important, but so too is the environment. And a lot of the really powerful older arts are the ones by people who would focus on the environment and the landscape just as much as they would the animals, if not more. And that really gets you the idea of stepping into these ancient worlds. To play a little bit of devil's advocate, though, I will agree with someone I saw on Facebook. They said part of the reason that people don't draw dinosaurs or other animals in all these really intricate landscapes is because it is hard to be accurate about that, because there are going to be plants and different things that you have to be careful to include or not include, because maybe, for example, if you wanted to do like a bunch of like flowers and stuff in a Jurassic scene, you have to remember that flowers hadn't evolved yet. So there is also a lot of accuracy that comes into play, because there's a lot of unknown factors with the environment that can hinder people.
Oh yeah, that's
true.
There's a current trend that I feel like it bothers the shit out of me for no particularly good reason, because when a paleo artist draws this giant landscape and plops random dinosaurs that live together and just
Oh.
scavenge them.
Oh my gosh, yes, those illustrative panoramas
Yes.
where they're just
Yeah.
showing you like the ecosystem.
But it's not even done in a concise way because you don't see that. Like, it just bothers the fuck out.
It's like
Yeah.
a family photo setup kind of
I
thing.
know. It's like
well,
you're
that one's
trying
gonna be
too
over there.
hard.
Now they don't
know?
interact, so this one's going to be over here. And it's just like, they don't
Yeah.
draw herds of anything. It's just
Yeah, like they'll have like a Brachiosaurus and a Stegosaurus hanging out together, and then this Allosaurus across the river, because if it wasn't across the river, it'd be obviously attacking them.
yeah. So, like dynamic herd scenes. I don't see any of that shit anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Like,
Yeah, so I think Greg Paul had a couple of those, but they were like actually good. Like, no one was attacking anybody. There weren't two herbivores interacting with each other that would most likely not ever happen, at least on a rare basis. But
Yeah, like-
there are some illustrations out there that have actually nailed that.
Like
and
what I-
executed it very well.
yeah.
Like what I want to see. It's like I saw videos of like rhinos fighting Cape buffalo, while like the rest of the Cape buffalo just like watch and graze. I want to see that, but in a dinosaur style.
Yeah.
That kind of shit I want to see.
Some real dynamic. And I think it goes back to I think it was David again who said this, who was like they're afraid to really get too speculative, I guess you could say, because they don't want to be wrong.
Yeah, which is that's a legitimate issue, because it's like you could end up doing something that's not accurate at all. It's like, oh, oops, because that is something that I notice a lot in the paleo community. They will call you out on your inaccuracies. It's happened.
Sometimes it's not very
times.
polite either.
No.
Well, let's
And-
say
and,
90% of the time it's not polite.
Yeah.
The main issue that I have with it too is because it's paleo art, which is technically a scientific art. These inaccuracies that if you have that may be you might know about it, you might not at the time you're making it. As soon as there's something wrong with the credibility of your piece, all of a sudden it loses all value, and I do really dislike that, because there's a lot of times. For example, someone could draw a mosasaur, and it's like, oh look, it doesn't have a tail fluke. What a terrible drawing, like it just like that one.
It could
thing.
be a masterful
And then
piece.
Picture. It could be the most beautifully lit picture. Oh, it doesn't have a tail fluke. You fucking suck.
I can't stand people like
You
Like,
are
legit.
Satan himself.
Yeah, like,
You know,
it could be like
this
one of those
reminds me of
old
something
like.
that I
Fucking scale
saw.
Nazi.
It could be like an old
there-
Jan Varner painting of a mosasaur, and be like, ew, look at that paddle tail. Get that out of here. And be like, no, this is good. It's just old.
Slightly off topic, but I still thought it was funny, and I guess I'll mention it since we're kind of discussing it. There's of course a bunch of new like dinosaur games that are coming out, and I can't even remember which one this was. But I won't like point any fingers. But anyway, I was looking through their images, their drawings and stuff, and they had a mosasaur. And of course, the mosasaur did not have the tail fluke, as paleontological evidence has proven. So somebody complained about it in the comments, and the team responded saying that they consulted a marine biologist to see if it was accurate. And they said that the marine biologist concluded that it was. And so they justified it on that means. But guys, like, the evidence shows that they had a fluke.
Yeah, the tail just doesn't dip at the end for
Like, it doesn't matter if it works, like, functionally. You don't consult someone who knows nothing about paleontology.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
that's
thought
what I
it
was
was.
about to say.
I wanted-
They consulted.
I want
an
to
expert
go.
on
I want to learn more about Triceratops. Let me go ask someone who studies birds.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
hey, Triceratops are birds.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Obviously. Their ancestors had quills. They're obviously birds.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but like the discussion we were talking about before, it's like if it ain't accurate, it ain't good. I can't stand that mentality.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about walking with dinosaurs and when dinosaurs ruled America? Oh, it's shit. Well, why is it shit? It's not accurate. Well, what? It was made like 20 years ago. Yeah, it's
I
shit.
feel like
Yeah.
So
while classics like that could stay a classic, anything else today is just like shit.
Yeah. And for example, like somebody, it might have been one of you guys even, who shared an article on PaleoArt on Facebook recently, and one of the featured artists was Simon Stallenhag. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but
I know what you're talking
I actually have a bunch of his work set as
work.
desktop background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had his
He
Ramphorhynchus
does
on
some
my background.
Yeah, and he does some paleo art. It's not necessarily accurate all the time, like the feathering and stuff, but his artwork is some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen. Like, I don't care if he gets some things wrong. Like, he is a good artist, and I appreciate his work.
His environments are so good.
Yes.
I really like
So
his work
beautiful.
a lot.
Yeah,
Like do you have the Ramphorhynchus one where they're like on the beach?
Oh
Yeah,
that was
the
my
dead
background for
Yes.
a while.
Oh, that is literally one of my favorite
And
works.
the other
of art.
one with the amphibians in this pool, and it had like lines of araucaria trees in the background. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
I also really like his Dimetrodon one. That one is fantastic.
I don't think I've
just
seen
about to
that
say
one.
that. Yeah, the
Like, as a
Dimetrodon
paleo
on
artist, I mean, he really like nails the emotion of a piece regardless of the
He
accuracy.
got like composition, coloring, everything, lighting.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So we were kind of getting into speculation a little bit ago, but before we really dive into that, there is one more thing I want to say about dynamic composition. Is when you're drawing a scene, what you want to do is you want to kind of rapture the viewer into that scene, kind of put them in there. And to do that, what you have to do sometimes is, instead of actually like drawing what's in the scene, you give an impression of what's in the scene. You know, if there's a tree, you don't draw every freaking leaf on the tree. You have some texturing that makes it look like leafing on a tree. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed a few paleo artists, I won't mention any names, are guilty of is they go to extensive lengths to put in every freaking detail they can. We're talking like every little rock, every little scale on their face
Has detail, immense amount of detail on its own.
and what it does is it totally takes you out of the picture, because instead of giving you little impressions that create this whole picture, it's a bunch of little pictures all collaged together, and it's a mind fuck. That's what it is.
Too much noise is what we're getting at. It's too much noise. There's no sense of focus anywhere. Everything is super detailed to a crisp, to where you can't figure out, okay, where's the dinosaur? Oh, it's there. But I don't see the outline.
Yeah.
I don't think
you can't tell the difference between a bush and feathers, and it's just a clusterfuck.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but the way some people do it, yeah, it does look absolutely terrible. But like the way I'm going was where I want to get to that point where like I'm hyper realistic with the shit and could actually be like a photo.
Well,
photograph.
that's different,
Well,
yeah. Because a
it's
lot of
so
times when we try to do photo hyperrealism,
Because
you
even
have
with
to add a
that,
sense of blur and focus.
Well, yeah,
You
that's
add
what
that.
I'm talking about. That's good. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
good.
could totally see what you're talking about with other people.
it's like
But there's too much noise.
What you're
Is
trying
what we're
to
getting at.
do.
It's too static. There's too much
Yeah,
noise.
what you're trying to do is imitate real life, and that's what really works with photorealism. Like, when you look at a wall that has little specks of white and brown in it, you don't see all the little specks of white and brown from a distance. You see a tan wall.
Oh, exactly.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's the
because-
kind of impression you need to convey that a lot of people, that certain paleo artists miss. You know, they it's too noisy. Like and they're so proud of themselves for taking the time and effort to fill in every little scale on their dinosaur, but the end product looks like a big blob of ink.
Yeah,
Yes.
not only should you focus on the small details, but you should also take into account the bigger picture. You always
Yeah.
have to look at that. Just because
Like-
something looks good up close doesn't mean it looks good from afar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hyper realism. If it's done right, it's absolutely beautiful and stunning. But
yeah.
if you do it the wrong way,
Like, there needs to be a blend of it. Like, we're talking, if there's a leaf that's, like, inset in the foreground of an image, go ahead and give it a little more detail.
Yeah.
But if it's a sand dune out in the background, don't fill in every little ripple of sand.
oh yeah,
You know, it's a sand dune in the background. You know, give it some atmosphere.
yes,
You know
Some
what I'm
room to
saying?
breathe.
So,
Blur. Take it out of the image a little bit.
yeah.
That also has to do with, like, lighting and stuff, which is that what we're talking about is mostly a problem with black and white images, because there's almost no lighting or shading of any kind. It's just detail, and you can't tell the difference between
yes.
Yeah.
a feathered
Don't-
dinosaur's back and the bush that's right behind it, or
It's
Yeah.
several
or-
meters away from it. You can't tell the difference. That's the
Yeah.
problem, I think.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, y'all need to,
Chill.
those of you out there who are got this issue, y'all need to just, like, go easy on the detailing. Like, yes, detailing helps make it realistic, but too much detail makes it look like you tried too hard. That's just what I think. That's just how I
And
feel.
also
It's
take
just-
into account that we're not being bitchy. We're not harping on people. We're just giving our a little 2 cents. Don't
Yeah,
don't
you
ever
know,
take what we say
as
like,
consumers
offensive.
of your paleo art, this is what we think about it. This is
We're
how we
critiquing,
view it.
we're
This is
not-
the kind of impression
no.
it makes
Peop-
on us.
We're also going in this with a mind of what is the general public going to think of when they look at this.
Yes, because that is
Obviously-
a lot of paleo art is for, is to educate the general public with images. So
But oftentimes, paleo art tends to just stick within a small niche of people.
yeah,
They don't seem to want to grow out more into the public space. They just kind of stick with their own group.
yeah.
Now,
Even though they themselves say that they want to grow
Yeah,
out,
even
but
though they
don't
constantly
do it
say,
themselves.
"Oh, it's for the people."
help me out here with this a little bit, because I feel like paleo art is inherently a pretty niche, like, subdomain of art anyway.
Oh, it is.
Like,
It is.
I mean,
I think it could be more respected than it is right now.
yeah. I just, someone who isn't really into dinosaurs, even the best work of paleo art isn't really going to make an impression on them. In the same way that I really don't care about outer space or spaceships, but there's
Yeah.
plenty of fantastic artwork out there depicting space travel. None of it really makes an impact on me because that's just not my thing. You got to have a little bit of a preset for it in order to be awed by it and inspired by it.
That's true.
Which I think
That's-
is achievable.
But you could also learn to judge on what and figure out exactly what piques the interest of the general public. I mean, it's not really rocket science. You just have to look
Well, and-
around,
and
see what the
obviously-
most popular things are, and then you'll be
Obviously,
able to get
we're
a
talking
narrower
like
view of what people
dinosaurs
want.
are definitely popular.
Yes.
Jurassic World is literally the third highest grossing film in the world. We're talking right after Titanic and Avatar. We're not even talking movie of the year. We're talking movie of, like, all time
Yeah.
after Titanic and Avatar. So dinosaurs are obviously a big thing, But I don't know. I guess I'm not really seeing exactly what you're getting at, where you're coming from.
I feel
I'm
like
talking about like actual accurate dinosaurs and the science behind dinosaurs, because Jurassic World is more of the science fiction realm of dinosaurs. That's
I
what
feel
was-
like just my 2 cents. Dinosaur art should at least be. I shouldn't generalize it all into one. I feel like if a paleo artist wants to get outside of the paleo art niche,
Yeah.
community we have, they need to portray these animals compositionally similar to how we photograph like animals today. Make them more dynamic like that, and make them
Yeah.
have a. I don't know how to explain it.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
A more
At
appealing
you know,
kind of look is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Like a very natural.
And it doesn't. It could be very natural too, and
It's
it could
kind
also
of-
be a very appealing way. As and I want to. There's more of one kind of appealing because I agree with you. Like, should definitely go with the more natural kind of appealing. The same appeal that people get when they see a beautiful painting of a tiger in the grass or something like that. We definitely need to. We should focus on that as well. We need to keep doing that
Like
kind of
dinosaur
stuff.
art,
But we
they
can
can
also
talk
go
about-
on to more less natural and more exciting and kind of stuff, kind of like sci-fi art, where there's just like it's so dynamic. You feel like it's a photo going through spaceships during this laser war. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so just
We can
like,
do
just
all
really
these
bold-
different realms of appeal, but we just need to start. You know, we just need to get out there.
yeah.
David's been quiet.
I've been saying a few things, mostly being talked over, but I've said a few.
Our apologies.
Huh.
But because I definitely agree, because it's like there's a certain amount of just boldness that comes out of certain kinds of pieces, like Fred was saying. Just the ideas of like just it like not only just like high intensity energy kind of scenes, but also like Rick was saying, to be able to capture the moods and essence and the sort of like the feel and atmosphere of a certain setting. There's that I guess you could say there needs to be more heart to the work too, because obviously people care about it, they love about it, they love the work, they love putting in the time to make these works. It's like the passion is there. It's just a matter that, but it's like we don't always feel that through the piece.
Yeah.
And paleo art needs that, because it is a scientific art, but it shouldn't have to lose out on aesthetic to be able to put out the ideas and the facts that it's trying to get. The concepts don't have to completely rule over the piece like that.
I get what you're saying.
The plop dinosaur in some kind of backdrop.
Yeah.
It kind of lost its like Doug
lost its
Henderson.
emotion.
Like Doug Henderson's art, like that shit's really nice. Oh my gosh, I can't explain how beautiful his pieces are.
Yeah.
Well, he's just really, really good though.
He's good
like
at capturing the emotion.
His actual skill level, just in general,
He adds story to it as well, which is something
Yeah.
a lot of great artists, including like David Krentz personally, actually told me. Whereas like any monkey can draw, is what he said. Any monkey, he told me, any monkey can learn to draw. It takes a great mind to add story to it and emotion and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I completely agree. We need to start doing that as well.
Interesting.
We need to step up our game, I guess.
Speculation. We touched on it a few minutes ago, but let's dive into that one.
Oh boy.
So I think we've discussed speculation in PaleoArt before. I don't remember how long ago that was, but we're gonna delve into that a little bit tonight. I think the issue that we're combating tonight is that speculation in PaleoArt has been so normalized that we don't know, or paleo artists don't know what's real and what's not anymore.
Yeah.
For example, there is the whole argument over being pretty conservative versus pretty liberal in terms of how you depict your dinosaurs. Like, you can interpret the feathers of Coelurosaurs and the feather-like structures of ornithischian dinosaurs and say that all those work together to mean that all dinosaurs are feathered, to where you're feathering not just your tyrannosaurs and your dromaeosaurs and everything like that, but you're feathering the ceratopsians, you're feathering the ankylosaurs, you're feathering the spinosaurs, you're feathering the
Euparkeria.
sauropods.
No, Fred, stop! Don't give him ideas.
Yeah. You're feathering freaking everything. Everything.
Settle
and
down.
No,
It's like,
there's
come
no
on.
evidence for that.
Especially for sauropods. Oh my god.
I mean,
I know,
and
like-
again, it's like there's a difference between dino art and paleo art. Paleo art has to do a lot with science. You can't draw anything if you don't have the science. So
Yeah.
why are you
You know?
adding feathers to a giant sauropod that lived in a hot tropical environment?
with no actual evidence that anything
with
remote
zero
close
evidence. Zero
to a
evidence.
sauropod was ever feathered. You know what I'm saying?
It's just
And with ceratopsians, like, there are clear impressions of hexagonal scale patterns.
you know, and then
Carnotaurus,
some.
too.
I'm just gonna throw out the word feather Nazi here, since that's what we're talking about. Some feather Nazis like to use the argument that feathers can grow in between scales. And yes, they can. You know, we see that in, for example, certain species of owls, but you're not going to get feathers growing in between the scutes of a frickin' ankylosaur.
No, it's not.
You know what I'm saying?
And
But I see that.
I don't
like,
expect that to
people
be
do that,
all over the body either of any dinosaur.
you know, and I'm okay. Like, I'm okay with some fun speculation. I'm okay with some, you know, goofing around.
But there has to be method in it. Function.
Yeah, there needs to be method in it, and if you're gonna take it seriously, you know, it just
It really irks us.
Gives such a wrong impression. It just
And then that kind of art gets all the attention. It gets to the public, and then someone would come up to me and be like, "Hey, Fred, I didn't know this dinosaur was pink." It's like, what are you talking about?
yeah.
This drawing. Did you see this? I saw it on an article. Yeah, I saw it on a BuzzFeed article.
Oh
And
yeah.
I just give them this.
BuzzFeed
I just give them this blank look. I go, huh?
Fucking BuzzFeed.
Let me sit you down, good sir.
I saw the BuzzFeed article.
I need to educate you.
Oh. And I just want to harp on feathered Spinosaurs for a minute. I know I've done this before, but Spinosaurs are some of my favorite dinosaurs ever, and I just get so upset when I see someone do something like that to a Spinosaurus. Like, I'm not anti-feather at all. Like, if it's any Coelurosaur, feather the shit out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, if it's like
man,
a
I make my
Carnosaur,
T-Rex
if it's
look like
close to a
Hercules.
Coelurosaur, go ahead and give it some proto-feathers. I don't care. But if it's a frickin' Spinosaur, if it's a frickin' Brachiosaurus, if it's a... You know, if it's any of that stuff, anything, I'm having a meltdown. I cannot handle it.
But it's like, what's the
Carnotaurus.
function of feathers on a Spinosaurus? Why?
I can see maybe
It's a
it being like a
semi-aquatic
hippo.
animal.
It's like, it's already a mix between a crocodile and a stork. You don't need to throw penguin in there, too.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I can maybe see it having like a few scattered kind of like filament structures like an elephant, but they're giving it these like downy, drabby feathers like that would just weigh it down in the
I know.
Like, why would it?
Especially weigh it down on land when it gets out of the water. It's like it's already heavy and his legs are small enough.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I did commit a crime as far as most people are concerned. I committed a heathen act. Let me show you guys here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is this gonna actually go on the podcast too?
I depicted a Spinosaurus walking on all fours.
Oh no.
Oh, oops, I accidentally removed the message here.
I think the image itself is in our heads, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heresy!
Also, by the way, my Skype on my computer for some reason I can't accept images. It's pretty bad. I can only accept like
that's
links to
weird.
images.
Yeah, my Skype is doing that now. Oh, I see it.
Oh, yours does too.
I see it.
Oh no, it obviously
Oh
doesn't.
yeah. Hey, yeah. That's the Spinosaurus Rick and I came up with.
So yeah, I did, and actually, like off topic, but the coloration unfortunately didn't turn out how I wanted it to, because my Photoshop does something where it tries to automatically adjust the color grading.
Oh.
So the whole time I thought I was working with like dull sand browns and like greens, but then it turned out that the color grading was just off because the program had thrown it off. So it came out with all these whites and grays, which is fine, but it's not quite how I wanted it to look. But anyway, there you go. And I did that mostly because this is for a project I'm working on, and because it's my project, I can depict Spinosaurus however I want to. But oh, hold on here. Oh no! My Skype recorder disappeared.
It's fine. I'm still recording.
Oh, that's good. Anyway, so yeah, that is one thing, and I mean, I've been known to be rather speculative with my stuff. So I'm not saying that speculation is wrong, but you need to be educated about it.
It needs to have purpose. It needs
Yeah.
function, or else it's just a heap of mess. You can't.
Yeah.
And please, if you're gonna speculate, try to at least give a reason for it, rather than a reason that's not because I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Please.
that's a lot of the problem with the speculation. That is like either it gets accepted as basically fact, or it's just kind of just like the fact of the matter is there's never really anything seen to be wrong with it. It's just like, oh, that's cool. It's like there's no evidence for that. There's basically no reason for that to be there, but it's cool. It's like it's I don't know, just the way that it's just been. It's the norm now to where it's like instead of just really just digging deep and trying to figure out whether or not this would be good to put in or have any agency in the creature or the piece or whatever. It's kind of just like it's just really arbitrary now.
Yeah.
Speculation is just allowed to just why not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of enjoy speculation, but it does certainly need its limits, or have its limits. So,
Definitely.
do you guys have anything else to say about that?
If you're gonna do wild speculation, make sure you brand it as just creative dinosaur art, not as scientific illustration.
Yeah.
Yeah, some disclaimers in there, and there are people who kind of have their own really hardcore opinions and do try to pass it off as basically fact. But I don't know, I just think people need to be a little more careful in how they present dinosaurs, because it could give the wrong impression and mislead some people. That's all I'm saying. I mean, the same complaints that accuracy Nazis have about Jurassic World can be applied to people who even the very accuracy Nazis themselves, who like to explore speculation. You just need to be careful with it, because you could give a wrong impression too. You know what I'm saying?
It goes both ways.
So,
Yep, definitely does.
anyway,
Next topic.
I
Do we
think
have any more topics? I think that's all.
I think we covered
that's
everything.
it? Oh,
So
that felt
yeah.
quick.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I know on our last video we were trying to be interactive with the audience, but since we've been so slow going, we haven't been able to.
Yeah.
We said we wanted to have a sort of Q&A kind of thing. Well, we said that, and I know on our Indominus Rex Build a Bear Theropod video, we were also talking about if the audience would have any kinds of requests or anything. Maybe we should still, just keep that open to the viewers. Do you think we should maybe have a kind of challenge or something? Because we've been talking this whole video about making cool looking, dynamic art pieces. Do you think maybe we should try to do some kind of a little challenge, or maybe even start up a hashtag of something to kind of just I don't know, something along those lines?
Yeah, we should definitely start getting, and obviously, we thank all you guys who've been listening to us and following us despite our very sparse activity.
Yeah.
We're trying to make it work. We're just busy, and it can sometimes be hard to get together like this, but we do enjoy doing this and sharing our thoughts and opinions with you guys. So I mean, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions, we will probably be coming up with something to get you guys a little more involved here at some point soon. But we would like to do some kind of question and answers thing. So if you guys have any questions about that you'd like to ask for our opinions on involving dinosaurs or PaleoArt, or even more broader topics like Jurassic Park or science fiction movies in general, we'd love to share our opinions with you. If you have anything you'd like to ask us, so don't shy away from that. We'll certainly hopefully be having a question and answer session soon. because we have talked about it before, but we will be looking into doing something a little more with you guys too. So
oh yeah,
hopefully
what about that other thing where they could ask us to draw some, and if we're interested or if we have the time, we could probably draw it out for them. Or
Oh
like
yeah,
or
that
maybe
would be
feature
pretty
someone's
fun.
art.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should start doing some kind of features or something like that. So anyway, thank you guys all for tuning in tonight or today or whatever time of day you're watching this. We're recording this at night, so that's
Yes.
just kind of how we roll. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and until next time, this has been the Coprolites podcast, where we take shit seriously.
Hell yeah.
Good.
Woo!